Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another spine-chilling, knowledge-grilling comic confrontation. In this corner of magic and mischief, tucked behind the bookcase, it's Chips, and the challenger wandering and pondering, Goosebumps. Almost coming to you live from San Diego 25, it's Put Up Your Spooks!
This is We Bleed Orange and Black, the podcast for Halloween and horror lovers. Join us as we interview creators, discuss our favorite folklore, and share original spooky stories. I'm Jeff, repping the 80s.
I'm Ryan, repping those 90s. This week's theme,
Comic-Con Special 2025.
Another Comic-Con. They just keep coming.
Another one in the books. They keep coming. Although I did read that for the 2028 Olympics in California, they may suspend Comic-Con.
Dude, that just gives me yet another reason to vote No Olympics.
Is that an option?
There's a whole organization, No Olympics 28.
Wow. Where do I sign?
We don't want to do World Cup either.
No Olympics is catchy. For World Cup, maybe World Nope? So we're back with some head-to-head spooky episodes, and of course, we gotta go with the comic book theme. My episode is Season 6, Episode 21 of Chips, 1983's Things That Go Creep in the Night. Punch and some new guy are assigned to Malibu for the week, and I just want to say that there's a third Chip in the mix,
Yeah.
and he's another blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy.
I thought he might be the original guy back again, but I don't know.
So there's the original guy, there was a new blonde-haired white guy, and then this is the third blonde-haired white guy that's partnered up with Punch, and I wonder if they did that so they can recycle all the shots of them riding on motorcycles.
Huh, probably.
They go to Malibu, where a very young Kelly Preston is running and screaming.
Any unit in the vicinity, a woman screaming for help on Pacific Coast Highway.
Because this is Chips, of course, this causes a 9-car pileup. A tar truck overturns and threatens to scald her, but the Chips take her to safety. Clutched in her hand is the cover of a comic book, Tales of the Sea Thing.
Looks like a page from a comic book.
It's a sea thing, Punch. The hottest comic book hero around.
Unseen in the underbrush, a pair of green flippers creeps away. At the hospital, they learn that Kelly has amnesia. The sight of the comic book brings back fleeting memories of terror and the Bitchin' Sea Thing theme song. Lahaney, the cop with the weird scratchy voice, offers to let Kelly stay at her house.
Her fucking sweet-ass beach house on a Chip salary. Them guys ain't living on the beach anymore, I tell you what.
The captain wants to write all this off as a simple traffic accident, but Punch wants to investigate. Officer Grossi is back with this episode's running gag. He's going to use a sauna suit to lose weight. Gotta love Grossi. The Chips find Kelly's wallet, which was dropped by a castle. A castle which happens to be the home of Stanley Woods, the famous creator of the Sea Thing comic book. This new Chip is a big fan, but when he goes to shake his hand, Mr. Wood vanishes.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. Just a little holograph illusion I've been working on, and I couldn't resist it.
I've said it before, Ryan. Holograms were an integral part of nearly every episode in the 1980s.
Yes, gentlemen, I am Stanley Woods, ventriloquist, author, artist, gourmet, magician, and musician.
While this is all going on, two eyes stare out at the Chips from a painting in the wall. Stanley runs over to a ventriloquist dummy, Herbie, that is bigger than he is. For some reason, Stanley does shtick while fielding questions from the police. When Stanley stands up, Herbie's head turns to watch them go. Did you catch that?
Yes.
Kelly is released from the hospital. Seconds later, Stanley shows up wearing a fake goatee, pretending to be a famous amnesiologist. He wants to know if Kelly remembers anything. Next, he calls Chip's headquarters and mimics a doctor's voice to finagle Officer Lahaney's address, where, for reasons of plot convenience, Kelly will be staying. Ponch and his new partner go to a bungalow with a bunch of comic books taped in the window. On the outside, it looks like a small LA home, but inside it is a freaky comic book store. A man in a full werewolf costume and a leather jacket is playing pinball. Why is this place so spooky?
Ponch, I didn't think you read comic books.
I don't come here to read comic books. Elvira?
Well, it's about time, Ponch. We could use some new blood.
Because the place is run by Elvira.
Naturally. I was like, Elvira, you're so much better than this.
Elvira thinks the Sea-Thing comic book cover is a rare galley proof, but she'll need to call her experts. A tarantula climbs onto third chip guy. Back at HQ, Grossi is sweating up a storm and chugging glass after glass of warm milk. It's kind of gross. If we were doing gross factor, that would get a point. That night, Kelly and Lahaney walk out the back door to the beach. According to the records they pulled, Kelly's parents are both dead. Lahaney leaves her there to answer the phone. It's a call from Ponch. Actually, it's a recording of Stanley doing his flawless Ponch impersonation. Out on the beach, Kelly watches as the Sea-Thing emerges from the waves. He's a scaly, thin humanoid, wearing seaweed like a feather boa. He's awesome.
Yeah.
The real Ponch arrives just in time to hear Kelly scream. The Sea-Thing is carrying her out into the depths. Ponch rushes out and pulls her away. When he tries to fight the Sea-Thing, the monster beats his ass and disappears into the water. The Chips track a key to Kelly's bus locker. Inside are illustrations of Sea-Thing and a locket with pictures of her mother. Kelly recovers a memory. Her mother is alive. Obviously, the next step is to exhume her mother's body.
Ponch, Elvira called, said she needs to see you right away. She says it's important.
Elvira has discovered that the original Sea-Thing galley was not, in fact, the work of Stanley Woods, but was originally created by a woman named Penelope, who vanished 1 year ago. Penelope is Kelly's mother. Speaking of Kelly's mother, the Chips take her to the county coroner's office, where they crack open the airtight seal on a coffin and find Penelope's body.
Well, first of all, Royal Dano is the mortician, and he's like, I love corpses.
It's a beautiful casket, isn't it? Hand-carved mahogany, solid brass fittings. You know, I've often thought what a pity it is. Such artistry should be buried under the ground.
I would say no small parts, but he is a famous character actor.
Yeah.
Penelope's face implodes. It was a fake. She really is alive. The Chips get a warrant to search Stanley's castle from top to bottom. There's no sign of Penelope. Stanley does a couple more magic tricks, and then they leave. Back at Lahaney's sweet Malibu pad, she and Kelly are living it up. Time for another fake phone call. This time, Stanley impersonates Penelope and tells Kelly to sneak away and come outside. Kelly does, because she's severely brain damaged or something. I don't know what's going on with her.
It was the amnesia.
And when she gets into the waiting car to be reunited with her mother, she sees that it's Stanley in a wig. He giggles like the psychopath he is. Kelly decides just to sit there. Again, brain damage.
Yep.
Ponch pulls the blueprints for Stanley's castle. As he suspected, there's a secret room. Back at the castle, Stanley opens the secret room and throws Kelly inside, where her mother, Penelope, is waiting. Ponch and the rest of the Chips show up, and Stanley confesses to everything. They slap the cuffs on him, or would, but he's a hologram. The real Stanley bones out in a hearse, with Kelly as his hostage. There's a cool chase with some sick stunts. The hearse crashes onto the beach, and Stanley slips on some seaweed. Ponch arrests him, saves Kelly, and the episode ends with the mandatory party with multiple freeze frames.
Hey, Sarge, I bet you can hardly tell I have it on at all, huh?
Grossman, you can't go on duty like that.
Sarge, wait a minute. There's valuable use for Grossi.
What's that?
He can be a model for a new comic book hero.
Yeah? Which one?
Multiple freeze frames. I was like, and then it was another, and then it was another. And I was like, well, huh?
Every episode of Chips we've watched has been amazing, and they all end with a party, with a cast and multiple freeze frames.
It's because by the end of the shooting week, they were all just getting high and drunk. So they just had to include it.
I think they start that way.
For the entire...
There is an episode of Chips with like a robot that like menaces them, but I don't know, man. This is like the craziest episode of Chips ever. I don't know if we can top it. I don't know if it'll be coming back on the show.
This is a perfect episode because it was not only comic book based, but also like horror based. So it really worked for us.
It wasn't an October episode. It was not a Halloween episode. It's a perfect segue from our Halfway to Halloween series.
That's right.
With a little stop in the realm of comic books. And it had Elvira, it had tarantulas, it had a werewolf,
Coffins.
It had sea monsters. Awesome.
Man, there's nothing Stanley can't do. That guy is an expert at everything except high-speed chases.
In his defense, he was speeding down a road and a car just cut across his lane for no reason.
It was a narrow road. The guy was startled.
I guess.
Or
maybe he saw the hearse and, you know.
He was working with the chips.
Oh. Could have been an undercover chip.
Stanley is ultimately defeated by slipping on seaweed.
His ironic comeuppance, since he had terrorized so many with seaweed. So he was like a mad genius magician, showman, and then he fell in love with an artist, and so he kidnapped her and is forcing her to create a popular comic book series. And maybe he's like a hypnotist and all this other stuff, because Penelope was looking through the eyes of that trick painting.
Yeah, she was
in the
happy
beginning.
to be there.
I don't know if she was happy to be there or if she has just been so tormented for so long that she's not even trying to escape.
Well, they were like, you shouldn't have seen us together. They were like embracing, or maybe he was in the process of kidnapping the mom when Kelly Preston showed up, but I was a bit confused by that.
The mom disappeared a year prior, and Kelly, before her severe brain damage, followed the clues to Stanley's mansion, I guess, and saw them together. I like that she runs away from the castle onto the beach, and Stanley's like, well, better get my awesome seaplane outfit. It had an air tank. It probably had servos and motors. It was like an exoskeleton that allowed him to beat Paunch down. And
yeah, well, I mean, you have to assume he's also an expert sea fighter because of his expertise everywhere else.
It was such a mixed bag of wackadoo. Having Elvira there in the mix was just delicious.
My episode is Goosebumps Attack of the Mutant. So, a little boy named Skipper is reading a comic, and his mom comes in and she's like, oh, you know what your father says? The dad comes in and he's like, gee whiz, no comic books. I thought he was going to say, like, no comic books, these are bad for you and will rot your brain, but he just said, not until you finish your homework. So, fair, tough but fair.
I felt like they were trying to make the father look like a very square 50s.
I thought he was going to be a secret superhero.
Oh, okay.
He was basically Clark Kent, or like an even nerdier Clark Kent.
I thought they were trying to paint him like a 50s father knows best type who was like, you know, comic books are immoral and, you know, they rot your brain. But they miscast him or they misdressed him or something, but he looked like a Poindexter nerd who would love comic books.
Totally. Yeah, you're totally right. So they go down to dinner or something, and the masked mutant presses his face out from the pages of the comic book, and I thought, this might be a commercial break fake, and it's like a half fake, because he doesn't pop out of the comic book, or does he? Unclear. At school, Skipper shows his even nerdier buddy Wilson the issue where they show the Masked Mutants headquarters for the first time. They're sitting outside at their fucking cold as ice outdoor cafeteria eating their lunch, and Wilson is like, I just like rocks, baby. They never steer you wrong.
Yeah, his Rockhound best friend was also a straight-up nerd who looked like he would love comic books. And I'm here to tell you, folks, you can collect rocks, as I did, and comic books,
And
which I did.
Books. this whole time, somebody is watching them from the bushes and going... So, Skipper gets on the bus to go home, and the masked mutant jumps on top of the bus and rides it Teen Wolf style.
These waves are mine.
Inside the bus, this girl, Livy, asks, she just pops up, and she's like, where do you go to school? Huh, Skipper? She also collects comic books, but not that superhero junk. So then, Skipper misses his stop and ends up outside the mutants' honest-to-God real-world headquarters, which is very clearly not a bad early 90s computer graphic. He runs away, tells Wilson. Wilson's a level-headed rock guy, so he's like, the artist was probably here in town, saw a building, used it as inspiration, totally makes sense. Skipper is like, I gotta go to the orthodontist. There's like a weird running joke about going to the orthodontist that never goes anywhere, but they mention it like 3 or 4 times.
Well, he has braces. This show only goes to 3 different locations. He just swaps back and forth between his bedroom, the picnic table outside the school, and the headquarters of the Masked Mutant.
Are they trying to get us to believe that this is a world where other things exist?
Where there's at least an orthodontist office, which is a reason why he has to continuously get on this bus that goes downtown. Did you notice anything special about that bus?
No, I did not.
It had a Goosebumps ad on the side.
Oh, did it?
Yes.
Oh
so
my
this
God.
is
Worlds
diegetic Goosebumps. It's recursive, just like when they played the Goosebumps theme on the radio in that Slappy episode.
They just can't stop with the self-promotion. My God, we're already watching the show, people. He goes back to the spot the next day. The headquarters is gone, vanished. Yes, some crazy old man. Isn't there a building there? And the crazy old man's like, what? You need to get your head on straight. And then he goes home. He gets a new comic in the mail. He shows it to Wilson. It's specifically about how the Masked Mutant has thrown an invisibility curtain around his headquarters. So Skipper thinks, aha. He goes back to the fucking headquarters the next day. Livy follows him. And he's like, the first time he meets her, he's like, your comics are stupid. They suck. The Masked Mutant is where it's at. Only nerds and shit heels read your stupid comics. Anyway, and then he's like, why do you gotta follow me? Come with me. There's an invisibility curtain around this headquarters. I swear to God. They're walking up, and then Livy says,
now I know why they call you Skipper. When they handed out brains, you got skipped.
Sick burn.
Unfortunately for her sick burn, they do walk through some invisibility curtains. Skipper gets shot with some kind of laser beam. He thinks it could be an interdimensional beam, but it's not quite like the interdimensional beams that he knows from other comics. They go into the headquarters. It's empty. There's nothing in there but pastel walls and columns. They go into an elevator, they plummet all the way to the basement, they get separated. Skipper finds a bunch of Masked Mutant comic art while something is trailing him, breathing heavy in the hallways. There's a drawing of himself in these comic books, and he's like, what? He gets accosted by the Masked Mutant, finally. But commercial break fake, a full commercial break fake. It is just Livy with a big cardboard cutout of the Masked Mutant, even though it clearly wasn't before the commercial break.
No, please! Please what? Please don't threaten you with a cardboard cutout? Huh?
God damn. Filmmakers.
Your nerves can't take the tension and the
It's the bait and
terror.
switches. The bait and switches. So once she appears, the drawings are gone. They leave. And as they leave, the cardboard cutout's eyes glow yellow.
Which will not come back and makes no sense.
Nope. It was around this time where I thought, Livy's probably the Masked Mutant. But
I clocked that almost
I mean,
right
how
away.
could you not? Yeah.
When a girl shows up and is like, ooh, comic books, tell me everything. I want to know more about you.
Hey, tell me all about your horrible life, you weird little nerd with braces.
And he's like, get the fuck away from me, girl that likes comics. Even though everyone in my life hates comic books and does not support my obsession, I find one other person and it just so happens to be a cute girl.
Hand it to him on a silver platter.
Yeah, and he's like, no thanks.
His instincts were telling him it was too good to be true. And they are secretly a 45-year-old man in spandex.
Hey, take what you can get.
They escape even though the elevator was broken before. He goes home. He's seeing comic book colors. Dots and whatever those things are called.
Halftone.
And he's worried he's going crazy, but he gets more comic book mail. He's in there again in this new issue. He shows his parents.
He tries to show his parents. He finally has proof that something is strange, that comic books are somehow mixing with real life, because there's pictures of him in the comics, and brilliantly, in a master stroke of writing.
No, Dad, look, I'm in the comic book.
I can't see a thing. Will you get that thing away from me? Can't you see what these onions are doing to my eyes?
The father is chopping onions, and he's like, I can't see, get out of my face. And the mom is like, well, we're chopping onions, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It was a clever bit of writing. It made me laugh. However, there is an invisibility curtain. Skip could call the police. He could go and try to like spray paint on the invisibility curtain or like show people coming and going. Could have called Rockhound Friend.
Yeah, I think he is losing his mind at this point.
Yeah. It's not like the secret headquarters is disappearing. It is there. It's tangible. Anyone he brings is going to be like, oh my God, there's an invisibility curtain. This is wild. Like, obviously, it would break the plot, but...
He doesn't even get Livy to back him up.
Libby's like, this is weird. Anyway, later.
Peace. I gotta go read my dumbass girl comics. So he goes downtown again. The bus driver is like, you all alone, little boy? This is a dangerous part of town. And then he's like, hey, you reading comics, little boy? Those will warp your mind. And then Skippy's like, whatever, I'm leaving. And he gets off the bus, and then bus driver turns into the masked mutant. This might be the first indication that we have that the masked mutant can transform. And then he casually drives the bus away on just going about his route.
Masked mutant's got to make money somehow.
Yep. He's got to pay for that invisibility cloak. I bet that thing uses up an insane amount of power. Skipper goes into the headquarters. Suddenly, Adam West is trapped in the basement as the Galloping Gazelle in full foam rubber superhero suit.
In full Galloping Gazelle regalia.
And he has given it the full Batman, of course, because you wouldn't do otherwise.
You're the Galloping Gazelle. You're real.
Real tired of waiting. Turn that heat off. Come on, I'm broiling. Untie me. We have to hurry.
I can't believe this.
I'll give you my autograph later.
Skipper frees him from his ropes. The Gazelle tries to teleport upstairs, but Skipper is a little out of shape kid, so he has to laboriously climb the stairs. Upstairs, the Gazelle is like, I'm going to sit in this chair because it's awfully comfortable. But then it's actually not comfortable. And then a snake pops up right in front of him, and he says something like, there's a snake in my face, or something.
There's a snake in my face!
And then the chair turns out to be the masked mutant in disguise. And he grabs the Gazelle. The Gazelle's like, you're on your own, Skippy. And he runs away forever. We never see him again.
Which is pretty good plot twist.
Yeah. He literally goes like, I'm getting too old for this. And then the mutant disappears. He's gone. Can't find him. Livy shows up. Thank God. But guess what? She confirmed is the masked mutant. Which means that the masked mutant reads lame-ass, girl-ass Archie comics on the side while driving his bus route.
The masked mutant exists in a dimension where comic books are real, so maybe those are just high schoolers he knows that take the bus.
That's true. Yeah, could be. But that also begs the question, so like the mutant is like, you're not real, Skipper. Remember that laser beam that shot you in the face? That made you into a comic book character, and now I'm gonna kill you? But it's like, okay, so he did find the headquarters before getting shot in the face with a laser. So did it zap him into the comic book dimension? Or was he already there? Or does it exist in both realms? Is the headquarters a conduit to both worlds?
The very first strange thing we see happening is that Skipper puts the masked mutant comic book down on his bed, and we see the masked mutant start to stretch through it like he's coming through into our world. Or was it that the comic book itself was the masked mutant transformed into a comic book because his arch nemesis, the Galloping Gazelle, was getting too old to be a proper antagonist, and he was looking for the perfect new enemy. And Skippy was that perfect enemy because he knew everything about the masked mutant.
Right. But then he was just going to kill him.
Yeah, got no chill.
So his adventures would have ended. But like, yeah, that would mean he was mailing himself to Skipper every single day in comic book form.
Or maybe he can divide himself into pieces like he did with the cardboard stand-up with the glowing eyes.
Who knows? So Skipper isn't a comic book character, but he pretends to be Elastic Boy. He uses some sweet comic book logic. And he's like, You can't kill me with anything. Here, you can't tear me into little... Masked Mutant is like starting to go weirdo from Are You Afraid of the Dark Scarecrow mode. He's like, I'm gonna rip you up. I'm gonna stretch you out. I'm gonna smash you and tear you into tiny little pieces. And then I'm gonna tear those pieces into pieces. So Skipper's like, yeah, I can't do that. I'm Elastic Boy. The only thing that can kill me is sulfuric acid, you fool. And then the mutant turns himself into sulfuric acid, which doesn't kill him, but the fact that his only weakness is turning into liquid is what kills him. So he could have turned into literally any liquid, and it still would have killed him. But either way, he's dead forever, and Skipper throws his mask into his melt hole, and then goes home. The next day, he gets new mail, but he's like, I'm all comic booked out. I'll read it later. And then his mom is like, what is wrong with your hands? It is nearly dinner time. Skipper's got ink all over his hands. He's like, forget it. I won't touch anything. I'm going to go watch TV. And as she's dragging his hand to the sink, you hear... Wah! And his arm stretched all the way to the couch. His mom has a nervous breakdown. He is Elastic Boy, a brand new superhero. And he comes up with a catchphrase on the spot.
Elastic Boy? Stretchinnn!
The end.
Do you think that Skippy made up Elastiboy from whole cloth, or is he just referencing another comic book character?
He must have made it up from whole cloth, because then there would be two Elastic Boys out there. Unless he just assumed the mantle of Elastic Boy and the other one was wiped from existence.
Well, the Masked Mutant seemed to know exactly who Elastiboy was, or maybe he was just taking it on faith. And was Skippy always Elastiboy, or did getting zapped with the laser and scanned in the Masked Mutant's headquarters turn him into a comic book character, and then he could just say who or whatever he was?
He got to choose. He chose poorly, in my opinion.
It boggles the mind.
Yeah. It's a bit of a what the factor.
What the factor high for this episode. So I have to say, this episode of Goosebumps had probably the worst faux comic book art we've ever had on the show.
Oh, yeah. It was like drawn with
crayons. We've done a lot of episodes with comic books in it, and woof, this really sucked. And that's including the episode of Freddy's Nightmares, The Art of Death with the Phantom, had better comic book art than this Goosebumps. Yeah. However, I think the Masked Mutant could give the Phantom a run for his money with the ceaseless, insane laughing. I mean, at least half his dialogue was laughing.
Are you talking about the ghastly grinner?
No, I'm talking about the Masked Mutant.
Who's the Phantom?
The Phantom was the guy from The Art of Death in Freddy's Nightmare. The nerd wrote. He made this anti-hero called the Phantom that was beating up his bully and kidnapped his girlfriend.
Relentless, powerful, merciless avenger!
Gotta go back.
Dude, that episode of Freddy's Nightmares was so much better than Attack of the Mutant.
Yeah, Attack of the Mutant was pretty lame.
Yeah.
I definitely would lose this battle. Except for on What the Factor.
Although, boy, What the Factor pretty high for Chips.
Yeah.
Chips was not pulling any punches when it came to What the Factor in this episode.
I did like it when that guy disappeared when he was trying to put the handcuffs on him. Even though they set it up earlier.
Set up, payoff, holograms.
Secret bookshelf.
Everything you want.
Oof.
In keeping with our superheroes and supervillains theme, I would love to have a proper dust up and get into reviews. But this is our 2025 Comic-Con special, and we're going to talk about the San Diego Comic-Con. On Thursday, the first thing we did was we hit the Writers Coffee House panel. This was a cool panel with a lot of established writers that they put on for free. And so we went and just heard them talk about the biz for a while. But we couldn't stay to the end because someone, miraculously, had given us tickets to the Paramount Plus Lodge activation.
Miracles are the only way you're getting into activations these days.
Yeah, Ryan and I were trying for a couple weeks before Comic-Con. We could not get into anything.
Meanwhile, everyone around us at Comic-Con was talking about how easy it was for them to get every ticket to every activation.
Yeah, man, I don't know if you need to set up like sniper bots like they use on eBay and stuff like that, but I don't know if we need to scalp tickets next year. Something's got to give. Inside the Paramount Lodge, they had all kinds of different little mini activations and photo ops for different Paramount shows. Ryan and I were a little more interested in the bars they had and the stiff drinks they were serving.
They were stiff. And sliders, too. That was nice. After salty margaritas, Jeff decided to challenge a girl in a wheelchair to a football throwing contest.
I lost. I mean,
throwing...
I don't know why I'm surprised that I lost, but...
She had a cannon.
Yeah, she had a cannon for an arm. She probably had 2 cannons for arms, considering that
probably.
She propels herself with her arms.
Yeah, they set up this wooden wall with holes in it that you threw Nerf balls at, and it was right next to the bar where where a procession of people were walking to and fro. And every time I threw a Nerf ball at the wooden plywood wall, it bounced off and hit someone walking to the bar. Eventually, one of the volunteers ran over and scolded me for throwing the Nerf balls too hard. And so I quit, but I was like, maybe don't set up a plywood Nerf ball throwing activity right near where people are going to be walking. Also, they're Nerf balls.
The objective was to get them through the holes. It's not their fault. We never got one ball.
I'm out of practice, It's not my fault either, really. I didn't see them complaining. I was including them in the activity by hitting them with the Nerf balls.
That's true.
It did give me great Dungeons & Dragons vibes, though. It's always a good way to start the weekend.
Yeah, it was very cool. So from there, we went to the convention center. I had my mini microphone, I had my bag of questions, topics, and candy, so went and did some interviews, met up with just random people, talked to cosplayers. That was really neat.
We did go to the Marriott after that.
And then it was off to Cold Slither. Cold Slither is a band of supervillains from the G.I. Joe cartoon, and they have, much like the Masked Mutant, breached our reality to have a rock concert. And so really the only thing that Ryan and I were able to get tickets for was this off-site event, this Cold Slither concert, which is pretty cool. By the time we got there, we were pretty far in the back.
Yeah.
But Cold Slither concert was cool. After that, we jetted on over to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund's rooftop party. Sadly, there were no drones this year. I wanted to see another cool Fantastic Four drone show.
Yeah.
But Marvel and DC had already put up their tents, hit the box office before Comic-Con this year. So drones, there were none. I did, however, run into Iffy Nwadaway, which was kind of cool. He is a TV and sort of geek culture personality. I spotted him last year. I didn't say anything, but he was standing behind me at the rooftop party. I'm like, hey, Iffy. Chatted with him for a while. He was really nice. He told me about the comic book that he's pitching. It sounds really cool. Yeah, it was a good time. I did, however, break a small adapter on my little phone microphone thing. So we spent Friday morning at a Best Buy where I just constantly would purchase an adapter, open it up, find out it was the wrong one, return it, exchange it for a new one. And I did that like 3 times.
All that stock straight in the garbage.
Yeah. After that, we hit the hot parking lot experience outside the Petco Park. Gets better every year. Then we tried to get into line for the Aliens Earth Code Red experience. FX was going off this year. They had all sorts of Aliens activations. It took a while to find out when and where we could line up for this Alien Earth Code Red thing. But eventually we did. We got in the line, and we waited for an hour and a half in the baking sun. Even though it was a sweet, balmy 72 degrees the whole time we were down there, somehow that little FX lawn just like, maybe it's like bouncing off the Hilton or something.
Something.
We were
Yeah.
just getting fried.
That direct sunlight.
Line. And at an hour and a half, we cut bait.
Yeah, we did. Can't do that anymore. Getting too old for this.
That's it. I'm out of here.
Wait, where are you going?
He's right. I'm too old for this superhero stuff. You're on your own, kid.
I did run into a very old friend of mine that I haven't seen in like 20 years, just randomly, so that was pretty awesome. I always love it when that happens. We went and got tacos down in the marina, like we always do.
And boy, howdy. I'd been looking forward to getting some proper California tacos ever since I moved away, and they do not miss. Those were delicious tacos. After that, we decided we wanted to catch the screening of Clown on a Cornfield, but we had many, many hours to kill. So we wandered around for a bit. We popped into Spike and Mike's Festival of Animation.
Caught some sweet 2003 college student films.
It was a nice. It was
actually fun. Yeah, I kind of liked it.
It was really good.
Tried to get to the pinball this year, but it was closed early for maintenance or something.
That was heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking. Something I really discovered this year is that I love hanging out at the Marriott, and to a lesser extent the Hilton, because there's so much going on at the Marriott. I love doing the screenings. So we went to see Clown in a Cornfield. Yeah, man, I love going to screenings. I love just hanging out there. I love the fact that it's like a big weekend-long party at the Marriott, you know? It's like everyone's in costume. Everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone's just chilling, hanging out. You're meeting people.
We saw Paul Scheer.
Who is a giant. This really very good-looking cosplayer called me over from across the room to like compliment my necklace. She didn't know what it was, but it was cool. And I was thinking just yesterday, like when I talked to her, I was like, oh yeah, did you make your costume? Or what else are you gonna do? And she was telling me about her group cosplay that she was gonna do. And then I was like, well, see ya. I didn't ask what her name was. I didn't ask where she was from. Basic conversational skills that I should have learned 20 years ago.
20?
But maybe next year. But yeah, I really love hanging out at the Marriott.
On Saturday, we hit Making Monsters Horror panel, moderated by Casey Griffin. And I got to meet some of the panelists. They're very talented and successful writers all. It was really cool. But we would meet back up with them later because at that point, we had to go meet up with Ed and Elliot. They had finally made it down to San Diego.
Yeah.
So that was cool. We cruised the con floor for a bit, and then we went to the Hilton for the Los Angeles chapter of the Horror Writers Association meetup, and got to meet all the aforementioned panelists and guests and hung out with a bunch of writers. That was a really nice time.
Yeah, it was. And then back for tacos.
Back to the tacos. So it has been said that you can never have too many tacos, but I would like to think that we got close.
Yeah, false. I had too many tacos, for sure. 100%.
We really shook the pillars of heaven, didn't we, Ryan?
No horse shit, but some other kinds of shit.
We put a hurt on ourselves and overdid it with tacos, chips, and salsa. But like, oh my God.
If you're going to go big.
Yeah, go big. I don't
leave a great looking corpse.
I don't know how good looking that corpse is going to be, but
well, blaze of glory anyway.
Yeah.
A blaze of salsa glory.
And then oddly, for the first time, maybe it's because the pinball room was closed, we went and we hit the Monster Arcade Barcade. The art was so cool.
Yeah.
Every wall had crazy murals of every character, all sorts of Halloween-y stuff. They had a ton of games from Japan. They had old Super NESs hooked up to old TVs and stuff. It was a really cool place.
Fantastic.
Sunday, we brought it home with a fancy breakfast, as is our new tradition, and we walked the con floor.
Yep.
I've been tracking my steps for a while, and when I found out I could go back through the years that I've had this phone, I would look at the dates of Comic-Con, and I would see this huge spike in the steps I took. Believe it or not, this year I broke my all-time record twice. So we walked so much this Comic-Con. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which is good, because we were full of tacos. So full of tacos, in fact, that we did not stop in Old Town on our way out.
Yeah, for once.
The thought of more Mexican food was just untenable. We kicked rocks, we hit the bricks, and we hit the road. Every year I ask, who won the con? What intellectual property or fandom was most represented in the cosplay that you saw at Comic-Con this year?
Oddly enough, there was a huge resurgence of Heath Ledger Jokers.
There were a few.
Some Joaquin Phoenix Jokers.
What was kind of wild to me is that I think this was like the most diverse group of costumes I've ever seen. As always, anime continues to sort of fracture the fandoms. There was probably more anime cosplay this year than I've ever seen. But there was such a varied anime represented that like it wasn't like all Naruto or all Jujutsu Kaisen or something like that. There were more Ewoks and bananas than I would have predicted. I don't know why Ewoks and bananas were a thing this year. But no runaway winner like Spider Sonas or Batmans or Supermans or Harley
The winner,
Quinns.
I didn't see a lot of Spider-Mans, but the obvious winner of my heart was Naruto Good Burger Ed.
Yes.
A mashup I never knew I wanted.
The Akatsuki.
Who stayed in character for
in
hours
Bud Village.
and hours
Amazing.
because we kept seeing him all over the con.
That guy was awesome. We didn't see the Galactus costume.
No.
Which is a shame. If anyone has seen any photos online of 2025's Comic-Con, they've most likely seen that awesome, giant Galactus costume. There was also a Ghost Rider, and I don't know if you saw this one, Ryan, that had like LED flames. So it had like a solid flame sculpt, and then there was like flickering LEDs within it.
Cool.
Longtime listeners will know that one of the impossible costumes that we've talked about for years is like the perfect Ghost Rider flaming skull costume. One day. Any closing thoughts, Ryan?
No, man, I'm still tired. I think I finally recovered from Comic-Con and the week that followed because Jeff and Amanda were in town.
I caught a ride with Ryan back to LA after Comic-Con. Got to hang out with some friends, got to visit some of the old haunts, as it were. That definitely slowed down my recovery. And Ryan's recovery also, because I was dragging him out. We went out to Cole's French Dip to say goodbye to a legend. Definitely had some good hangs. Ryan, you often say that you come back from Comic-Con exhausted, but exhilarated, inspired, creatively. Any luck this year?
For like a fleeting moment, I felt creatively reinvigorated. And then we got home, and then my week happened, and now I'm just tired again. But I did come to the perhaps re-realization in that creativity begets creativity, and so you gotta feed the fire or else it dies.
San Diego Comic-Con has been a little bit of a rocky road for the past few years. We always have a good time, but for a while there, it got so big and so crowded. Like, you couldn't move, and you couldn't get into any of the events. You would have to sleep in a line to get into certain activations or certain high-profile panels. And then it seemed all the big companies were going to take their money elsewhere and try to be a big fish in a small pond, like New York Comic-Con or LA Comic-Con. And it seemed like this was the inevitable hollowing out of San Diego Comic-Con as the big sponsors pulled out. I remember there was one year that hardly anyone cosplayed, and I was like, oh no, what's happening? And then there was COVID, of course, that canceled a few, and there was the writer strike and the Screen Actors strike, and that really took the wind out of the sails. But I am happy to say that this year's Comic-Con really felt lively and robust and thriving. There were so many people having so much fun.
Yeah.
There were so many things to see and do. It was firing on all cylinders and sort of reminded me of the Comic-Con's vault.
Yeah, totally. Except that Ed and Elliot weren't there for most of it.
Or Drew.
Or Drew, right.
As always, just as tomorrow is never promised, next year's Comic-Con is not promised. I don't know if we'll be able to get together and go next year. Even though Ryan and I told ourselves we need to enjoy this trip like it is our last Comic-Con, I still have an appetite for more.
Oh, yeah.
I still have a desire to go back. I want to do it again. I do love San Diego Comic-Con.
At the end of every year, I'm so tired. I'm like, ugh, I'm fine if we don't go next year. But in reality, I would be very disappointed if we stopped going.
Fingers crossed. Here's hoping next year we'll bring you another Comic-Con special. All right, time for our catchphrases. Here's mine. Stretchinnn!
That's a kid's catchphrase. Okay, then mine is, unpleasant dreams.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and follow. We're now on YouTube. Links are in the show notes. You can find me at jeffccarter.com and hit the link to pick up my collection, We Bleed Orange and Black, 31 fun-sized tales for Halloween. Until next time, stay spooktacular. Probably put it in here. I hope you were enjoying the theme song.
Yes.
Now you don't even remember it?
Of course I do.
It was so funky. I can't wait to cut in the theme song. So fucking sweet.
I can't wait to hear it.